Welcome to Design of Structures 1 CE 501. We are going to embark on our journey with the chapter number 2 of RCC. The chapter number 2 of RCC or Design of Structures 1 deals with the limit state design. Now before we embark on limit state design, let us take a brief journey of the Indian Standard Code IS 456-2000. Now this Indian Standard Code IS 456-2000 is the holy book, or it can be considered to be a holy book for all the civil engineers and structural engineers. It is very important that every structural engineer should be knowing what has been prescribed as the rules for plain and reinforced concrete. Now all these rules have been laid down in this particular code, that is IS 456-2000. Now please note one thing, all the data which has been taken in this presentation, whether it is the written matter or the pictures, all have been taken from Indian Standard Code IS 456-2000, reaffirmed in 2005. The name of the code is Indian Standard Plain and Reinforced Concrete Code of Practice, 4th revision. This is a Bureau of Indian Standard New Delhi publication. Now this has come to us courtesy IIT-K. So from there we have got the code, and from the code I have taken the pictures and the data which I am going to share with you shortly. Introduction to IS 456-2000. Now this code, the Plain and Reinforced Concrete Code of Practice by the Bureau of Indian Standards, gives the rules of practice in the limit state method of design and also carries the rules of design in the working stress method. The limit state design is given in the main body of the code, and the working stress method has been given in one of its annexures, that is Annexure B. It also gives some more things in some other annexures. So the code is quite extensive, and it gives extensive, much large information on plain and reinforced concrete, what we should be doing, how we should be doing, how we should be designing, what is expected to be the quality of concrete. All the things have been discussed in this particular code, the Indian Standard Code IS 456-2000. Before this, there were previous codes. The previous code dealt much larger with the working stress method. So now the things have been changed from the change of the millennium in 2000. The things have changed. What has been prescribed at a larger extent is the limit state method. So that particular limit state method forms the core part of the code. But for some things, working stress method is still prescribed, so the working stress method is still continued in the Annexure B. Now the IS 456-2000, this has been the meticulous, a huge amount of work of the BIS, or the Bureau of Indian Standards, which is the national standards body of India. All the standards of India have come to us through the BIS. It was formed under the BIS Act of 2016, and it is developing all the standards in India. And this BIS is responsible for all the tangible benefits, and it gives good, reliable, safe, quality goods to minimizing health hazards, and all these things are provided by the Bureau of Indian Standards. Now the headquarters of the Bureau of Indian Standards is in New Delhi, the symbol which you can see over here on the picture. The Indian Standard Code IS 456-2000, it comprises of a total of 5 sections and 8 annexures. The section 1 deals with all general. It's the smallest of the section, just 1 or 2 pages. It has only the symbols which are used in the code, the various references which it is making with the different codes, the terminology used, and the other things. So the general section deals only with that. The section 2 is vast section. It deals with the materials, It deals with the workmanship. When I say materials, it is the materials of plain concrete as well as the RCC. So all the materials. It deals with the workmanship, how the concrete should be made, how the steel should be placed, the curing, formwork, everything. It also, the section 2 also deals with the inspection and testing, how the inspection of the materials or the construction part will be done, whatever is constructed, how the inspection would be done, what are the methods followed, the methodology for testing, all that is covered in section 2. The section 3 deals with general design considerations. Now these gives the parameters, general parameters of design. Everything is brought in one group over here in the general design considerations. We will see it shortly. Section 4 deals with the special design requirements for structural members and systems. Anything which is specially done, architecturally done. Architectural requirement is special. So what is to be done in those type of things? So that is dealt in section number 4. And section number 5 deals with the limit state method of design. Comprehensive. Everything has been given, the different limit states and everything has been given in the section 5. In the annexures, we have the annexure A, the first one, the list of referred Indian standards, which are the ones which are referred in this IS 456. Annexure B deals with the structural design in the working stress method. The next annexure deals with the calculation of deflection. The next one, it deals with the two-way slabs or the slabs spanning in two directions. Now over here it is slabs which are for framed structures or for the load bearing structures, or we can say the slabs which are with the ends allowed to be lifted up or the ends not allowed to be lifted up, ends or corners. So that has been discussed in this part. The next annexure deals with the effective lengths of columns. The next one, calculation of the crack width, and one of the most important one for us is the next annexure, that is moments of resistance for rectangular and T sections. It says rectangular, so it covers the singly reinforced as well as doubly, and when we say T sections, it covers L sections also. So it is flanged beams as well as the rectangular beams. Everything is covered over here. And the last annexure deals with the committee composition, which went through all this meticulous work of compiling this IS 456-2000. So as I have told you, section 1 deals with only the terminology used, the symbol used, so it's the smallest section. Coming to section 2. The section 2 deals with the material, workmanship, inspection and testing of materials. Now the first part, let me just talk about is it specifies the various types of cements recommended for use. We have already discussed this in length earlier in the previous chapter. So let me just mention the clause 5 of IS 456 deals with materials. In materials, the first point is 5.1. Clause 5.1 deals with cement, and it tells about the different types of cements which are appropriate for the production of plain or reinforced concrete. So the type of cement is given and the relevant code is also mentioned along with that. The grades of the cements are also mentioned over there. So based on this, we can procure the cement and use the cement while preparing the concrete for our either plain concrete or the reinforced cement concrete. Coming to the mineralized admixtures, the mineral admixtures are covered in the clause 5.2. In 5.21, it talks of pozzolanas. We have already discussed about what is pozzolana in the previous chapter. So which are the pozzolanic materials which can be allowed, which are permitted in the making of our concrete. Those also have been told over here, like in the clause 5.2.1.1, it talks about fly ash, which is in particular pulverized fuel ash. The IS 3812 deals with this, and that can be used as part replacement of OPC, giving us a blended cement. So that has been given over here in 5.2.1.2. Silica fume can be used. So in this particular one, clause 5.2, we find the different mineral admixtures which are permitted to be used along with cement or as a part of replacement of cement in manufacture of PCC or RCC. In section 2, in materials, clause 5.3 deals with the aggregates. What are the different types of aggregates which are to be used for PCC or RCC? A few things which are very important over here. Aggregates shall comply with the requirements of IS 383. Everything about the aggregates have been described over here, specified over here in IS 383, so it has been referred to in this code. Also, it says that other types of aggregates such as slag and crushed overburnt bricks or tiles, which may be found suitable with regard to strength, durability of concrete and free from harmful effects, are allowed for PCC. But such aggregates, there is a condition, should not contain more than 0.5% of sulfates, should not absorb more than 10% of their own mass water. So these conditions have been laid down over here. The next clause 5.3.3, the size of the aggregate is very important for those people who deal with RCC. The nominal maximum size of coarse aggregate should be as large as possible within the limits specified, but at the same time in no case greater than 1/4 of the minimum thickness of the member, provided that the concrete can be placed without difficulty to surround all the reinforcement thoroughly and feel the corners of the form. That means good bonding for the reinforcement should be obtainable over here. Now the last statement which has been given over here, that is, for most work 20 mm aggregate is suitable. This has been mentioned in the code in the clause 5.3.3, and we observe that at most of the places when we are dealing with RCC, the maximum size of the aggregate chosen is 20 mm. So if in RCC the maximum size is chosen of the aggregate as 20 mm, it is because of this clause, that is clause 5.3.3. Then it goes on to tell for heavily reinforced concrete members what should be the size of the aggregates, and in clause 5.3.4 it talks about coarse and fine aggregates shall be batched separately. So batching of both of these will be done separately, that has been mentioned over here, plus there are more clauses as far as the aggregates are concerned in this particular clause 5.3. Coming to clause 5.4. 5.4 clause talks about water. Water used for mixing and curing shall be clean and free from injurious amounts of oils, acids, alkalis, salts, sugars, organic materials or other substances which are harmful to concrete or steel. Or in simple words, what it says is potable water or drinking water can be used for mixing and curing. So the next paragraph clearly use the word potable water, which is considered satisfactory for mixing concrete. It is also said that potable water can be used for curing also. It also goes on further to say that the pH of the water shall not be less than 6. The pH, polarity of hydrogen, pH shall not be less than 6. It only means that the water which we are using for mixing as well as curing, this water shall not be acidic. It shall not be less than 6. So it should always be 7, which is neutral water, and it can be more than that. Now as far as seawater is concerned, this is a concern in most of the Gulf states where getting good water, potable water is always difficult for construction. So over here also in India at some places we have this problem. So the code talks about the seawater in clause 5.4.3. It says mixing or curing of concrete with seawater is not recommended. With seawater is not recommended because it has harmful salts. But under unavoidable circumstances, seawater may be used for mixing and curing in PCC where there is no embedded steel after having given due consideration to possible disadvantages and precautions using the appropriate cement system. So that is what has been prescribed over here. For so seawater can be used for PCC, taking into consideration the disadvantages which it may be subject to. Now coming to the next part in this, the admixtures. Admixtures have been defined and specified in the clause 5.5. In clause 5.5, admixtures has been mentioned to be strictly complying with IS 9103. What type of admixtures we can use, the workability, compressive strength, slump loss, everything about the admixtures have been clarified over here. It also goes on to say the chloride content of the admixtures shall be independently tested for each batch before accepting. So the admixtures, if they are having chloride, then it would be tested, because as we know, chlorides are harmful for the concrete and the reinforcement. Coming to the next one, clause 5.6 in materials, it talks of reinforcement. Now reinforcement we have already discussed at length. So different types of reinforcements which have been mentioned in IS 456-2000 are mild steel and medium tensile steel bars, or HYSD, the high strength deformed steel bars, or hard drawn steel wire fabric, or structural steel. So what are the properties of these steel? The code has been given over there, and we have already discussed these things at length earlier. The clause 6 in material deals with concrete. It deals with the different grades of concrete, what should be the characteristic strength of the concrete, how we should be getting the characteristic strength of concrete, and it also clarifies that not more than 5% of the test results are expected to fall. So over here we are looking at the probability and we are looking at the test results, and based on that we get the characteristic strength. Remember, the term characteristic strength is going to be the most important term throughout this subject. Right from the beginning till the end, we are going to live with this word, that is characteristic strength of concrete. Then the minimum grades of concrete for plain and reinforced concrete have been given in a table which we have already discussed earlier. Then from the materials, in the same section, clause number 7 deals with workmanship. It specifies the various types of cements recommended for use, mineral admixtures and the other things, and then finally it goes to concrete, then properties of concrete for concreting works. So now when we are talking of properties of concrete, one of the most important property of concrete is the workability. Now over here in in clause 7.1, it says the concrete mix proportions chosen should be such that the concrete is of adequate workability for the placing conditions and can be properly compacted with the means available. So over here it says it discusses and defines the placing conditions, it talks about the degree of workability, and it tells about how much should be the slump. So these conditions have been defined in workability of concrete. Going further, we get another most important term, that is the durability of concrete. Now whenever we are doing any structure, any owner is more interested in durability of the structure. And when we are talking of durability of the structure, obviously it means durability of concrete, because concrete forms, or RCC forms, the spine, the skeleton of the structure. So the durability of the structure is directly related to the durability of concrete. Now what is durability? The general definition in clause 8.1 says that a durable concrete is the one that performs satisfactorily in the working environment during its anticipated exposure conditions during service. Let me make it very clear. The code talks over here of the exposure conditions. What type of exposure the structure is led to, what type of exposure it is facing. So depending upon that, the durability conditions have been given. The materials and the mix proportions specified and used should be as to maintain its integrity and if applicable to protect the embedded metal, that means the reinforcement, from corrosion. Now in durability there are different factors. There are 6 factors which are believed to be affecting durability directly. The first one and the foremost one is the environment. Second one is the cover to the reinforcement, the type and quality of the constituent materials like cement, aggregate, sand, water, other things. The next one is cement content and the water cement ratio of the concrete, workmanship, how we get the full compaction and good curing, and finally the shape and size of the member. So all these things are important. Remember, the first 3 things are the environment, the cover to the steel, and the type and quality of the constituent materials. That does not mean that the others are not important. Others are equally important. Now coming to the environment. In environment, it talks of exposure conditions. Now we will look at the table over here. Now in the table we find that there are 5 conditions. There are 5 conditions, 5 different levels. It starts with mild, goes to moderate, then severe, very severe to extreme. In the mild, concrete surface is protected against weather or aggressive conditions except those situated in coastal area. In Goan condition, it does not appear to be a mild environment because concrete surfaces are hardly protected against weather or aggressive conditions. In Goan region, we have the water bodies, we have the rivers and the oceans almost within 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers from the structures. From any place within 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers we find the river or the water body. So given a consideration like that, there are more of saline vapors which come into the environment and these become more aggressive. These are more aggressive towards the concrete and the reinforcement. So we cannot consider our Goan environment to be mild. Let us look at the next condition. In table 3, the next level is the moderate level. Concrete surface is sheltered from severe rain or freezing. So let me look at the first part. Concrete surface is sheltered from severe rain. If we look at the concrete structures, most of them have terraces, and these terraces cannot be, or rather are not, sheltered from severe rain. Many of them take the bettering from the severe rain. Also in the moderate we have concrete exposed to condensation and rain. So in Goa most of the structures are coming within this. Look at the further part in the level moderate. Concrete surfaces sheltered from saturated salt air in coastal area. So this moderate talks of the Goan climate. We have this type of structures may be sheltered from saturated salt air in the coastal area. Goa is so small that everything can be looked upon as a coastal area with saturated salt air. Now obviously we are at the level moderate. Let us try to see if the other conditions could be made applicable to Goa, or whether Goa is safe from severe or very severe or extreme. Coming to the level number 3. Level number 3 is severe. Concrete surfaces exposed to severe rain. Well, in Goa we have concrete surfaces exposed to severe rain. We have the largest amount of rain which we get throughout the year or during the monsoon season. So obviously we are looking at the level which is severe. Concrete surfaces exposed to severe rain. Or the next one, in this itself the last point is concrete exposed to coastal environment. So obviously Goa is more than moderate. So Goa region, the structures in Goa would be surely there in the severe environment. Let us have a look at the very severe one. The level 4 very severe talks of concrete surfaces exposed to seawater spray. Well, seawater spray is the vapor, is the bubble which is created by the brushing of the waves. We have our beaches, we have our waves which are there formed in the ocean and the sea, or rather the sea, the Arabian Sea. these waves release the bubbles in air. they they fall against one another, the waves brush against one another, the water bubbles are released in air. This water bubble, each of these water bubbles carry within them the saline environment. Now these water bubbles which fly in air, because the air has the horizontal velocity, with that the bubbles fly in air, these constitute the sea water spray. So in level 4, very severe, concrete surfaces exposed to sea water spray. Yes, Goan structures, the structures built in Goa, constructed in Goa, fall under this category. Very severe, that is concrete surfaces exposed to sea water spray. When we are looking at the environment, in the durability condition, we have to always focus that ours is condition 4, ours is the level 4. Look at level 5, extreme. Surface of members in tidal zone. Well, some structures are in the tidal zone where the tides come in contact with the structures. At that time we would be considering the level as the 5th level, the surface of members in the tidal zone. So as far as our design is concerned, when we are designing any structure for the state of Goa, we will be looking at very severe condition. And then the clause number 15 deals with sampling and strength of design concrete mix. How we are going to take the samples? When we are preparing a batch, in a batch how many cubes will be taken, how they will be taken, how they will be tested, what will be the curing procedure, everything has been specified in clause number 15. We also have something called as nominal mixed concrete. What is a nominal mixed concrete? When it is prescribed, it is very clear that nominal mixed concrete may be used for concrete of M20 or lower. M20 or lower. The proportions of materials for nominal mixed concrete have been given in a table. So for M20 or lower only we can use. But what about design mixed concrete? It is very clearly stated over here in clause 9.2.1. As the guarantor of quality of concrete used in the construction, the constructor, the person who is responsible for the construction, shall carry out the mix design, and the design mix shall be approved by the employer within the parameters and stipulations laid down by IS 456. It is very clear the design mix has to be done, it has to be shown to the employer, and the employer has to approve. Then only the construction can be undertaken, the concrete construction can be undertaken. So that is about this section, and it talks of the materials, the workability and testing, everything in this.